Hey, 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 Christina here with Frequency Friday. So, we are on our last session of The Power of the Brain in the Brain series. So, let's get to the amygdala, recognizing the concept of the amygdala hijack. Something I recently learned, I don't know if I read it or I heard it somewhere, but you see, this brain is in a state of curiosity. So I learned that when we're in a state of curiosity, we automatically activate our parasympathetic state. I found that to be fascinating and very helpful in practical living, right? So I love this video here of action potential popping, and I absolutely love how this all played out. Um, how we started out talking about action potential and what is action potential. And now the amygdala is all about action potential because it is an unconscious processor. Okay. It learns and stores information on its own. Isn't that amazing? Fascinating. So, all of that stored information controls all of our emotional responses. Wow. This tiny little element in our brain controls all of our emotional responses, like really grasp hold of that. So the amygdala has four main functions. So previously last week I talked about how it was the detective of threats, right? Because that is what's commonly studied, that's what's commonly talked about, but that's not the full truth. So let's get to the full truth of the matter. It's an intensity detective. And it specializes in emotional signals because emotions are the fuel. It's energy in motion, right? Powerful fuel. Um, it also triggers a response. So it gets the body to do something, whether that be smacking the spider that you just see that's on you that has triggered some intense emotion. Or you need to jump out of the way of a car, or you're happy and excited and you want to give somebody a hug. It triggers the body to respond. Fear conditioning, behavioral perspectives, and the hippocampus. So remember that the hippocampus is it's a memory association. They're right next to each other. They're connected. So they're constantly communicating and talking. Um, and being that this is all unconscious information, unconscious processing, it's gathering lots of data and information so that it can quickly make a decision on what's the response you need to take and due to this intense emotion that you're having. So it takes into account your memories. And then we have positive emotions. So, often we only hear talk about negative things, bad things, harmful things. Let's not leave positive emotions out of the equation because those are just as powerful and impactful. So it's really not about, so it's really about the intensity of the emotion that gets action potential popping, right? There's no right or wrong. So let's just go back a little bit to when we were talking about how the brain communicates, brain waves. So brain waves are electrical signals produced by the brain's activity. Transduction, it's where one type of energy converts into another type of energy. This happens with all of our senses. So for example, it's said that the eye does not actually see the spider, but our eyes are actually picking up light waves that it converts into an image we have connected to the spider. Like, how does it even? I can't even fathom how our brain works so fantastically well. It's nuts to me. But, I'm in awe and wonder, actually. So everything that comes into the brain comes in as energy, and the brain must convert that energy into action potentials, otherwise known as electricity, because that is how it operates. Action potential is always popping. So let's run through a process to just really connect these dots on how our brains work, specifically as it relates to the amygdala. So, flight or fight response process, because that's what we hear often about the amygdala, right? A threat is detected. When a threat is detected, that signal is immediately going to the thalamus. And remember that the thalamus is what? The router. It routes this information everywhere that it needs to go. So it's going to send this information that's emotionally charged to the amygdala. And remember that the amygdala is connected to the hippocampus. So they are constantly communicating. So it's grabbing memories of, what this threat could be. How alarmed should we be, right? And then it's going to go to the hypothalamus, which again is the the manager, the king, the great orchestrator, conductor of the body. So it's releasing hormones into the bloodstream that are going to assist the body in responding in the manner that it needs to respond to this particular threat that we're currently assessing. So we know that all of this stuff is happening extremely fast. Somewhere around there, information is now being sent to your cortex, which is your conscious mind. So now you're going to become aware of this. Most of this stuff is happening and you're not even aware. And it's happening so fast, it's almost simultaneously. So from the hypothalamus, then it's going to go to the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland, then it's going to go to the sympathetic nervous system, also known as the autonomic nervous system or the peripheral nervous system. When that is activated, cascades of emotions are set forth, and then the adrenal glands are alerted to get into action. And so the primary hormones that are released in the fight response are epinephrine, adrenaline, and cortisol, which get our system aroused so much we can almost do anything that needs to be done in this moment to live, to survive. We are so fearfully and wonderfully made, right? But the bad thing about this is we can get stuck in this particular pattern of flight and fight. And that doesn't really serve our body well. It's meant for a reason. It's a function that's meant to operate at a particular time to serve us well. And we have been inundated with so many scenarios, situations, circumstances, programming that has got our system all jacked up. So we have really got to become the conductors of our bodies, of our nervous system, of our control center. Because if we do not break the pattern will break us, because we're not meant to live in this state for long periods of time. It just doesn't do well for all of the rest of our body systems. So again, it's such a tiny but mighty the amygdala is. So the amygdala's main job is to keep us safe and responsive, or reactive, one could say. And this is because it's an unconscious processor. It's learning on its own. It's very programmable. Um, so if you were to take a moment to ask yourself this question, do I often find that my emotions are hijacking me? Just sit with that and kind of see what your body presents to you. Like, you have cellular intelligence. What does your cellular intelligence have to say to you about that question? We house all the information that we need to know within. But it's so hard to tune in and be in tune with that because the world is so noisy. So many things going on to keep us distracted. But depending upon your cellular intelligence responses, your amygdala may need some self love and attention. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's amazing that you can actually receive the signal, right? That your amygdala is giving you, that your body systems, your cellular intelligence is giving you, that it's time to update your programming. And it's so fantastic that we even have the opportunity to upgrade ourselves, to update ourselves, so that we can operate at our highest optimal capacity. So let's get back to brain waves by humans by the age, because that is how our brains communicate, right? So I do not have all the answers here. A lot of this is coming to me as I'm studying this, because I'm studying it with the purpose of learning how to operate at my optimal capacity. How do I use my brain as a tool? So I'm getting answers as I'm studying, and I am, we are in this together. So I hope that you're gaining value and you're getting some ahas and, ooh, yeah, okay, things that can help you out in your life. So something that I am going to play with and be more curious about is the brainwave states and how they relate to the ages. And go back and watch that video. I'm not going to go into depth because I'm already over the 11 minutes. So but I think that this is a significant model for us to get back to and to be able to understand what brainwave our state is in currently. And if that brainwave state isn't serving us or it's overactive, then we need to be able to use the tools that we have within ourselves to shift our brainwave state into a more productive place for our overall well-being and health, right? So I strongly believe that we are in a season, we are in an era of the great great rewiring. It's time for us to optimize our molecules to operate as we were designed to function. We've all been programmed. There's no wrong, there's no right. It is what it is. That's how our brains work so efficiently. But that doesn't mean you have to be okay with or stay with and be stuck in any type of program that's not serving you. We have the power. You have the power, and it's time to take your power back. Because life gives us color. We need the color of all of the emotions. We have them for a reason. God didn't make any mistakes, right? So, as a woman who's married to a husband, we are completely different beings, right? I will pop in. I can feel all the emotions on the whole spectrum in one whole day. Um, I can also anticipate my emotions and be stressed out about something early, which is a waste of my energy and time. For example, I'm an official empty nester now. I just came back from a trip where I transitioned my youngest daughter into college life. I've been stressing about this for at least 2 weeks prior to, just thinking about how I feel about this, thinking that I'm preparing myself to do well in the moment. But it was actually stressing me out. And so fast forward to the moment in time where we're in the moment of the thing of leaving her in Arizona. And I see that my husband begins to feel the emotions. It hits him, right? And I was like, man, I wish I could have did that. I wish I would have been able to just be present when it came time. So lesson learned. But it's time. It's time. The opportunity is here. So how do we manage the amygdala hijacked? We manage it by being aware of ourselves and how we respond and how we react. And so here's a list of things that you can assess to help you take advantage of this opportune time of the great rewiring to get your brain to be used as a tool that will serve you well. It will be your servant. It will not be your master, because that is how you were designed to be. So I just want to thank you so much for joining me in the brain series. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Let's focus on getting our action potential popping in a manner that activates our parasympathetic state of being. That's not talked about enough. And that's the era that I believe we're moving into. It's time for us to take our power back. All right, take care.